no country in the history of the modern world in any way has been able to do this, has moved from... This is about defining cool. I want to talk about Korea because there's something happening in Korea that I'm going to have to frame this. So I'm going to talk for about 5 minutes. So go to the first slide. So first, what you want to know about Korea here, I'm just going to give you a few things. In '65, Korea was one of the poorest countries in the world. So I was 5 years old. And look at in the per capita GDP, that means that on average, the average Korean made $108 a year. Okay? Look at the countries that had higher per capita GDPs. Korea was poor, man. Niger was higher than Korea. So you have to hold in your mind this idea of Korea being a poor country. All right, go to the next slide. So today, Korea, this just came out by this guy, Ray Dalio. Korea being the sixth largest superpower in the United States. And like no country in the history of the modern world in any way has been able to do this, has moved from being such a poor country to being such a wealthy country. So when you think about Korea, like you think in mind this thing that has happened in this peninsula country that now has a population of about 50 million people, that they went from one of the poorest countries in the world to one of the wealthiest in 60 years. Go to the next slide. So here's U.S. News and World Report, best countries. Look at cultural influence, 7th in the world. And entrepreneurship, movers, like a country that moves, man, 5th in the world. Country that's moving things around the world. So we're talking about culture, and we're talking about what's cool and what's not cool. It's like, here's this small country that is pushing things in a way that no country has ever been able to do. Okay, so next slide. This innovation index, just look at 10th overall in terms of innovation. So I'm putting this up here because we're going to have this conversation about Korea, and I want you to hold into context what Korea is, who they are, this nation is today, and who Koreans are today. So look, knowledge creation, you know, it's unbelievable, really. As a sociologist, to me, it's absolutely fascinating. Okay, go to the next slide. And okay, so listen, there's this term called Hallyu, and it started to be used about 20 years ago. And it's the Korean wave, and what it references is Korean culture sort of blasting off, or going around the world. It's a wave that's crashing on the shores all around the rest of the world. And it's kind of like a tsunami, and a tsunami is a wave that all the power and the energy of a tsunami is underneath the water. You don't really see it. And so Korea has just sort of landed on, Korean culture has landed on the shores of cultures all around the world in these areas. And so I'm going to give, and nobody really saw it. It just happened. I've been watching it in this class for the past 20 years. I've been talking about Korea here and Korea there, but suddenly Korea just took off in ways. And remember, one of the poorest countries in the world. You all know something about Korea. Everyone hears about Korea. You hear something, but people don't really know what it is. A lot of people. Go to the next slide. So here, this is an example. Think about music, right? So 19 of the 20 best-selling albums last year were put out by K-pop musicians. 19 of the top 20 selling albums. In this group right here, this is 17. So 17 is one of really the top groups in Korea today. If you don't really follow K-pop, if you're not really aware of what K-pop is, understand 19 of the 20 best-selling albums were done by Korean K-pop musicians. So you may not know, but this is a whole cultural phenomenon that's happening. So here's the other thing. This is where we're going to, next slide. This is where we're going to start the conversation. U.S. culture has a very individualist-oriented moral order. It's what really drives our thinking about what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. Meaning that what is good for the individual is what is good for the culture. So the culture operates in a smooth way, in an effective way, if the individuals in that culture have an opportunity to express themselves in the ways that they want to express themselves. Okay? So this is like individualist orientation. What is right for me is what is right. Now, it's not entirely, right? It's shaped that way. So it tends to be what is right for me is going to shape what is right. It's going to shape my actions, my thinking, my way of being in the world, more than what is right for the community. In East Asian cultures and communitarian-oriented cultures, and especially in Korea, but also we see it in the Arab Middle East, we see it in certain parts of African cultures, but definitely in Korea. What is good for the community is what is good for the system. So when I'm acting, when I'm making a decision or I'm thinking about how to act in a certain way, I'm thinking about, wait, hang on, what does the community need? How should my actions affect other people in the community? How do other people come into play? I'm thinking about other people. Right and wrong is not just what I think is right and wrong, it's what we think is right and wrong. In the individualist-oriented culture, what I think is right and wrong is really what's going to shape what is right and wrong for me. Okay? So now you've got this very different way of defining cool.